Good morning, everyone. I'm Joanne Schroeder. I'm the Director of External Partnerships at the Human Early Learning Partnership. Welcome to the first of our 2021 HELP Virtual Expo sessions. And today we will be celebrating the legacy of our founder, Dr. Clyde Hertzman, and building on that legacy for change. Closed captioning of this event is available, and you will be able to find it by clicking on the CC button at the bottom of your screen, and you should see it there shortly. We'll also be recording this event, and it will be available to watch on our YouTube channel after today. We have, gratefully, a very big audience today, and this is all new to us, as it is new to many of us in this virtual world that we've created. We've got Amy, Sally, Kate, Jeremy, Kinwa, and others behind the scene helping us out. So I hope you'll all say a little prayer for us to have it all come together as we have planned for. I would ask you to type into the chat your name, the territory from which you are joining today, and the organization which you're representing, so we can really just get a sense of everyone who's here. I'm joining today from the traditional ancestral unceded territory of the Comox and Pentlatch people on Vancouver Island. The Human Early Learning Partnership is located at UBC on the traditional ancestral unceded territory of the Musqueam people. I'm very grateful to be able to welcome Elder Doris Fox from the Musqueam Nation to start our day.
Thank you. Me xʷməthkվəy, it's in Musqueam and Doris Fox. Welcome everyone to the traditional, unceded, and ancestral territory of the Musqueam people. My name is Doris Fox, and I'm an elder from Musqueam. I'd like to raise my hands in gratitude to all the people who had anything to do with this beautiful event today. I'd like to thank them for their hard work and dedication, continued hard work, continued dedication to this wonderful project. I'd like to ask everyone to keep an open heart and an open mind as they go through the morning here. Be open to learning as much as you can. Every day there's learning to be had. My great-grandfather Manette used to say, if you stop learning, you might as well just die and go home. So every day, allow yourself to be open to more and more and more positive learnings, because there's so much out there. So I raise my hands in gratitude to all of you today for coming and taking part in this incredible project. I know that lots of good work is going to happen this morning. So thank you for the invitation. Thank you for having me here. And I wish you good luck for the day. xʷməthkվəy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Elder Fox, for those kind words. We're very grateful for you taking part with us this morning. I'd now like to introduce Elder Reanna Erasmus from our HELP's Aboriginal Steering Committee. Reanna is a member of the Alonni's Dene First Nation with roots in the Hupakasath First Nation in Port Alberni. She's been with HELP's Aboriginal Steering Committee since 2015, and she's been involved in education for over 40 years, from Aboriginal Head Start to post-secondary education. In 2015, Reanna was inducted into the Government of the Northwest Territories Education Hall of Fame for her work in early childhood. Reanna believes in lifelong learning and supporting all children to achieve their dreams. Over to you, Reanna.
Good morning. My name is xʷməthkʷəy. It is a name that has belonged to our family since the beginning of time. I am the oldest daughter of Eric and Beulah Sayers. My grandparents were Dan and Annie Watts. My grandfather was a hereditary chief, and my grandmother was a daughter of a hereditary chief. I am speaking to you today on the unceded and ancestral territory of the Hupacheset peoples in Port Alberni on Vancouver Island. I am honored to be here today to honor the legacy of Dr. Clyde Hertzman, and I bring welcome from the Aboriginal Steering Committee. In January 2013, I had the privilege of meeting Dr. Clyde Hertzman in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. As he presented, his passion for children came alive with his research. As he tied his research to the possibility of change in policy and targeted funding, it spoke to me as a frontline worker. I spoke to him briefly about our Northern Aboriginal Head Start programs, about our curriculum and our program evaluation. He was excited about what we were doing and encouraged us to continue and to keep in touch. Unfortunately, a short time later, he passed on, but I will never forget his passion and his enthusiasm. At the beginning of HELP's Aboriginal Steering Committee, Diane Elliott and Jesse Nyberg were there to build a strong Aboriginal Steering Committee with Dr. Hertzman. Until recently, they both continued on Clyde's legacy. The Aboriginal Steering Committee gives thanks to these two women warriors for their dedication to our Aboriginal children, families, and communities. The work that HELP staff and the Aboriginal Steering Committee does is important. As Aboriginal people, it is important to be involved with research of our people. I am grateful for the HELP staff. They listen to our voices and work towards what is best for our Aboriginal children, families, and our communities. It is not always easy to integrate our Aboriginal ways of knowing into a system of academia, but I feel the respect and intention of Clyde's legacy is there. All children need help. So let's use the data and research gathered to make changes in the system so that all children can thrive. Masicho, Glego Kleko, and enjoy your day with us.
Thank you very much, Reanna, and thank you, as always, for your participation in the work of HELP. We have a packed agenda this morning. At HELP, we always suffer a little bit by having so many great ideas, and we just wanted so many people to participate in this. So it's going to be a great day. I'm very excited. Briefly, we will, following our opening and welcome, have some reflections from Her Honor Janet Austin and Diane Elliott. Then we'll have 3 presentations talking about the story of the EDI and some of the key work that we're doing at HELP these days. We'll be closing the morning with a hopefully lively dialogue when we really start to think about how ambitious, how aspirational can we be in improving outcomes for the children and their families in British Columbia. With this packed agenda, we won't be taking any breaks, so we'll trust for you all to look after your own biological and emotional needs as we go through a morning together on Zoom. You will see at the bottom of your screen both a Q&A button and a chat feature. If you have questions for the speakers as you listen, please type those questions into the Q&A feature, not the chat. We will be responding to the questions as we go throughout the webinar using the Q&A, and after each of our presentations, we've reserved some time for the speaker to answer questions from the audience as well. Sally is going to be doing the moderation of that part, so she'll jump in when we get to the Q&A. We will do our best to get to as many questions as we can this morning, but know that we're always available to answer questions after the fact. If you want to comment or reflect, please use the chat feature for everything else besides Q&A. And then social media, something I know very little about, but the people at Help know lots about. This event is also being shared via social media, so you can participate at that handle shown on the screen or using our event hashtag. Amy will be moderating our social media today. Today, on the 8th anniversary of his death, we are gathered to celebrate and build on the legacy of HELP's founder, Clyde Hertzman. Clyde was a brilliant scientist, a passionate advocate for all children, and a proud grandfather. His vision for a BC and Canada where all children thrive continues to inspire the work of HELP today. We're going to show you now a short video of Clyde, which was made in preparation for the 10th anniversary of HELP's work.
Who am I? I am Clyde Hertzman. I'm the director of the Human Early Learning Partnership, which is a cell to society research network that studies early child development and its implications across the life course. I'm also a professor in the School of Population and Public Health at UBC and a Canada Research Chair in Population Health and Human Development. At the Expo, I'm going to be introducing the way in which the Human Early Learning Partnership works, in particular explaining why it is we cover the full range of influences on early childhood that go right from the level of the cell and the individual child to the neighbor, the family, the neighborhood, and the broader society. And I'm going to spend some time explaining what we've learned about the state of early child development in British Columbia, because the state of early child development, in a sense, emerges out of experiences that children have at so many different levels, from the most intimate to the broadest societal level. So I'm going to talk about that, and then I'm going to explain how the different research projects that are represented at the forum fit into this model, this cell to society model. Why does this matter? Well, early child development influences health, well-being, learning, and behavior across the balance of the life course. And we're currently in a situation in British Columbia where approximately 30% of the children reach school age without the physical or the social, emotional, or the language and cognitive development that they really need to be able to operate effectively thereafter. And we have reason to believe that at least 2/3 of this vulnerability in the children's development is avoidable if we provided better environments of stimulation, support, nurturance, and opportunities for participation for young children. So the research that we do tries to take those broad ideas and break it down into things that we can understand and do something about, and also to transform our understandings about the things that influence early child development so that we can stimulate conversation across society about the importance of the early years.
It's now my great pleasure to introduce the Honourable Janet Austin, Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia. The Honourable Janet Austin was sworn in as Lieutenant Governor on April 24th, 2018. Prior to this appointment, she spent 15 years as the CEO of the YWCA in Metro Vancouver. Her Honour has actively volunteered for many organizations in commitment to helping improve the lives of others. I've had the opportunity to work with Her Honour along with Clyde Hertzman, Fraser Mustard, and others and the Canadian Council for Early Child Development some years ago. Her Honour is the Chancellor of the Order of British Columbia and was invested as a member of the Order in 2016. Finally, I would like to say that Her Honour was a close friend and colleague of Clyde for many years.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Joanne. And hello, friends. I'm speaking to you today from the traditional territory of the Lekwungen peoples, the Songhees and Esquimalt, and I wish to express my gratitude for the privilege of living and working on these lands, and to thank elders Doris Fox and Reanna Erasmus for the gift of a traditional welcome and introductory remarks. Some of you may know that I've selected reconciliation as one of the key themes of my mandate as Lieutenant Governor, and I felt it would be appropriate to learn a bit of an Indigenous language, as a mark of respect. Now, I don't want to overstate this because it's very introductory and my pronunciation is terrible, but the language that has been chosen for me by elders is Sinchothan, which is the traditional language of the xʷməthkվəy people. And so I will say, Aitsquaicho, Stjelacha, Aikwanasquinangahela, Ananuhila, Nshquelaquins, Adische. Good day, dear friends. It's wonderful to be among you today, and I feel very proud of the work that is done all together. And I mean that so very sincerely. It's a special honor to join you in celebrating the legacy of the remarkable Clyde Hertzman and to share this virtual platform with some truly outstanding researchers and leaders whom I hold in highest respect. I had the privilege of working with Clyde, as you heard from Joanne, at the national level on the Council for Early Child Development and locally as a community collaborator, doing my part to amplify and apply the work of help. I look back on those years with an unwavering belief in the potential of Clyde's vision and the work of help to advance shared prosperity and reduce systemic inequalities, and with an undiminished commitment to supporting you however I can. In this work, Clyde was our inspiration, our motivation, our North Star. He was so many things: visionary leader, radical thinker, intellectual giant, powerful orator, and generous collaborator. He is truly a doctor without borders, both literally through his world travels and metaphorically in his refusal to accept the intellectual borders that separate the academic disciplines and drive the academy from the community. The concept of thinking globally and acting locally surely applies to Clyde, apt as he was at translating big ideas into measurable actions and mobilizing an army of collaborators to implement them in our communities, our neighborhoods, and in our schools. Yet, so does the reverse, thinking locally and acting globally, as he carried knowledge and practical experience to the farthest reaches of the globe. My professional connection and my personal friendship with Clyde grew out of my work as CEO of the YWCA Metro Vancouver. I came to respect and admire the brilliant scientist and to cherish the private man. He influenced me profoundly, as he did all of you. His vision and research informed the policy and advocacy positions of the YWCA. It shaped the organization's frontline service delivery, the quality of early learning and care programs, school-based youth programs, and parenting, education, and support services, to name just a few. Clyde also inspired us to reach out beyond the comfort zone of our like-minded peers and collaborators, to engage with those whose perspectives and priorities might be different. He inspired me to use my position in the business community as a board member and chair of the Vancouver Board of Trade to bring profile to the economic benefits of public investment in the early development of children. This, of course, was just one dimension of the work that Clyde inspired, but at the time it was little understood. It was the leadership of Clyde, along with Paul Kershaw, Martin Guhn, Linnell Anderson, and many others, who brought focus and serious attention to these arguments and ultimately built much needed and unexpected support for the critical importance of high quality early learning and care. Clyde's work also inspired a reconceptualization of health as a life course developmental process, inspiring new ways of designing and implementing health systems, which of course are key to optimizing child outcomes and helping children thrive. He shed light on the role that societal conditions and social welfare policies play in shaping inequities in population health and human development, the inequities that the YWCA worked to address through practical frontline services and evidence-based advocacy. In this, we relied very much on the knowledge generated and translated by help. In the ensuing years, your work broadened and deepened and continued unabated, a legacy of Clyde's vision, our North Star. Which brings me to the present moment. The past year, as we all know, has been fraught with challenge, but it has also brought a generous sharing of new knowledge. It's built trust among traditional adversaries. It's taught us patience, compassion, and humility. I believe that Canadians overall are experiencing a renewal of the commitment to the Canadian values of diversity and inclusion, tempered by a recognition that the equal society we aspire to is not a reality for many, and that we have work to do. We better understand our mutual interdependence, the importance of acting collectively to address our challenges of economy, climate, and society. I believe we've been given a gift, and that is a chance to look at our world with fresh eyes, to reassess our priorities. There's a new openness to big ideas, big changes, ideas based not in old ideologies, but in evidence and new knowledge, and grounded in a values-based commitment to shared prosperity. This is, I think, our chance to make our world better for all of us. The work of help is fundamental in this quest, illustrating as it does the perfect marriage of theoretical knowledge and practical application, tested and refined by local experience, but always grounded in community leadership. Clyde was all about changing the world in small ways and in large. Those of you who knew him personally would have been privy to some humorous stories about his radical youth. But the mature Clyde understood that revolutions don't happen through theoretical brilliance, rhetoric, or ideological gamesmanship, and they don't happen overnight if they are to herald real change. Rather, they begin in our relationships with each other, in communities, across social barriers, within families, and between generations. The revolution that Clyde sought is based in understanding and respect for the potential of every newborn baby and every young child, and the necessity for community support in realizing that potential. He was undaunted in knowing that this is a never-ending task, but one that makes life worth the living. Clyde inspired us, he equipped us, and he mobilized us. When he left us, we made a commitment to honor his legacy by continuing his work. And when I look at the work of help today, I see in the dynamism of this diverse interdisciplinary network how very much you all have done to expand and broaden and work his vision, bringing new energy, embracing new ideas, and donning his mantle of passionate, visionary leadership in your own work. He would have wanted it no other way. Before I close, I feel compelled to respond to the question posed in your last session of the morning, which is, how ambitious do you think we can be in reducing early childhood vulnerability? My answer, dream no small dreams, for they have no power to move the hearts of men, which you will all recognize as a famous Goethe quotation. But what words could better capture Clyde's spirit and vision? Finally, I honor all of you for your splendid work. When I'm in your company, I do believe that a better world is possible. And with all my heart, I wish you every possible success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. That was really lovely and inspiring, and I'm so grateful for your continued leadership on social justice in BC and Canada. Thank you. I'm now going to introduce Diana Elliott. Diana Elliott is Coast Salish from Cowichan tribes and has equal roots in Nuchalnis and Hupakasatha First Nation in Port Alberni. Diana has worked with the Aboriginal Infant Development Program for 28 years, first as a frontline worker, supervisor, program manager, and now as the provincial advisor. She has been in this role of provincial advisor, advising 55 and growing programs in BC for almost 18 years. Diana was one of the founders of the Help Aboriginal Steering Committee in 2004 and served as a member of the ASC until just a few months ago. Diana has been married for 37 years with 2 grown sons and 3 beautiful grandchildren. These grandchildren have inspired her to continue important work to ensure the future generations are happy, healthy, and a long distance from the detrimental factors that have impacted their ancestors. Thank you for joining us this morning, Diana.
Oops. Good morning, everyone. And I just want to thank Elder Dora Fox for being with us this morning and opening us up and helping us start off our day. And also Elder Reanna for being with us from the committee. And thank you for her opening remarks. I'm here this morning to honor Clyde Hertzman from my story. I'm sharing my story and memories with all of you this morning. And we lost Clyde 8 years ago, and many of you here today may not have had the opportunity to meet Clyde or attend any number of his presentations or learn from him about his work with UBC and the Human Early Learning Partnership and everything else he did. He lives on at UBC, he lives on at HELP, and he lives on in the many reports, many of the presentations and the documents that are here still with us. And he lives on in YouTube, as you can see this morning. I first met Clyde in 1998, 23 years ago, in Duncan in my position at Cowichan Tribe's Aboriginal Infant Development Program, known as AIDP. And I partnered with Rhoda Taylor from the Margaret Moss Health Center to host Clyde at an information session about HELP and the EDI. I thought my timing in math was wrong until I remembered that we are honoring 20 years of this monitoring system. So it's been a long time. Our paths crossed again many times in my current role working with AIDP. I would also say hello or talk to Clyde after a presentation and got to know him well. I told him I wasn't stalking him. I just appreciated his work. He laughed and said he had never had a groupie before and I could be his groupie. We talked about the residential school legacy and he learned to understand the history. And we also shared with each other the residential school history and the Holocaust history, and we shed a few tears together. Back at the gathering in Duncan, I remember I was embarrassed that out of the 22 people I invited from Cowichan tribes and neighboring Indigenous communities, only 2 people came, and a social worker from Cowichan tribes and a manager from the Hi'e'elam Friendship Center. This was an indication of our relationships and experience with research and institutes like UBC, and I would later use this experience as an example of needing to engage with Indigenous communities before, during, and after research, or any engagement for that matter. As time went on and I was doing program and community visits to different nations, I would have the opportunity to visit their Head Start programs, their childcare centers, their schools. At the schools, I would ask if they knew about the EDI and if they participated, getting mixed responses from they didn't know anything about it to they were waiting to get a confirmation from their education steering committee to approve participation to no interest at all. This is when my colleague, Shelley Littlechild, and I approached Clyde to see if they had reached out to our nation schools and who they reached out to. I wanted to share what I was hearing and maybe wanting to share some unsolicited ideas and recommendations. Shelley wanted to know what and how information was being shared and if it was relevant for Indigenous communities. This is when he referred us to Joanne Schroeder, and we first met Joanne. Clyde and his team made the decision to create an Indigenous Advisory Committee to help. I became one of the founding members of this committee with our dear elder, Jesse Nyberg, and many others. We have both retired from the committee and members have changed, but the current committee is made up of some great people who believe in HELP and who want to contribute to the work that HELP does in and with our Indigenous communities, considering OCAP and other protocols, etc. This committee was created before the Truth and Reconciliation Commission became to being, but the intent of the TRC now was why we needed a new working relationship between Indigenous communities, the Aboriginal Advisory Committee, and HELP to engage in respectful relationships with First Nations schools and nations. I thought this was important because if we didn't participate, Whether we were vulnerable or thriving, we were invisible. This committee suggested that we don't just need an advisory committee, but we also need Indigenous staff at HELP. We now have both. For a number of years, we had great people in the position of Aboriginal Liaison Coordinator who worked with HELP and the committee, and now we have Kenwa Blue Sky, who carries the title Senior Manager Indigenous Initiatives. We all know that everything we do in our work is evidence-based or based on research, which is a good thing, but whose evidence and whose research and whose baseline or median is appropriate. We were concerned. We have children who live on and off reserve, some connected to their culture, some not, but we knew what we needed to do was to ensure there was no bias in the EDI in particular. This is when I discovered that you can do research on your research and then analyze your research on your research and then develop tools and research. And I loved it. Like many of you, I am not a researcher. I do not have the aptitude or desire to be a researcher, but I appreciate the researchers and I value research and found the information Clyde shared fascinating and maybe somewhat because of his passion and his excitement. We all have that one person, a friend, a teacher, a coworker, a colleague, a mentor that we remember who influenced us in some way. Clyde was a wonderful person, colleague, teacher, mentor, and leader. I was told by an elder that being an elder is not about an age or being a senior. It is about what you know and what you do with what you know. To me, Clyde was an elder. So losing Clyde was the same to me as when we lose a respected elder from our communities of leaders or mentors or knowledge keepers. It has always made me reflect, what do we do? What does it mean for me? For me, it means we need to step up and to fill that void or that work of the person that left us and do our best to carry on the work and legacy of that person. Clyde is still with us in our work. The legacy that Clyde built in early childhood and population health, working with communities, schools, and neighborhoods with his colleagues for the health and well-being of our children and families will continue. I still see the continued dedication and enthusiasm learned from Clyde and the HELP team. Sometimes cultural safety is just being seen and heard and included and respected. I feel this is also an achievement of Clyde and the HELP team, working with the advisory committee, our elders, increasing our participation beyond the EDI to contributing to the overall work of HELP. But also sometimes if we witness racism, prejudice, bigotry, or even just ignorance, and you don't say anything or challenge the situation, we're condoning the actions of others at the expense of someone else. So we as Indigenous people are learning to use our voices, but we need yours if things are ever going to change, and support are out of everything that puts them in the place of vulnerability. Sorry. Indigenous children are part of this research and monitoring system. We are not invisible, and while we discuss vulnerability, I can tell you that those of us who work with our children in the home, the daycare, the preschool, are honored to support children to thrive and families to heal and thrive after generations of trauma. This work is as much about the future as it is about the present lives of children. Honoring Clyde today and the 20+ years of work that he begun with his colleagues. If you have a story or memory about Clyde, you are very fortunate. If you don't, there are many of us who will continue to share ours. And thank you all for letting me share mine this morning to help the HELP team and everybody who joined us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Diana. I'm so grateful for our years of work together and looking forward still to some more years of work together.